For years, people laughed at her. They turned her life into headlines, jokes, and late-night punchlines. But what if everything you thought you knew was wrong? What if the woman the world called a mess was actually surviving things most people wouldn't last a week through? Because behind the cameras, behind the fame, there was a woman being broken, piece by piece, and still finding a way to stand. This isn't the story people told about her. This is the story they avoided telling. It started with a moment that should have ended everything. A quiet evening, a car full of children, laughter, noise, life. And then, impact. Out of nowhere, another vehicle tore through a red light and slammed into them. Metal crushed. Glass shattered. Silence followed. Inside that car were 7 children. 7 lives. And in those final seconds before the crash, she didn't freeze. She didn't panic. She made a decision. A sharp turn. A calculated move. Something instinctive, something protective. Witnesses would later say that single action may have saved every life in that vehicle. Think about that. In a moment where fear could have taken over, she chose control. But the world didn't focus on that. They focused on the crash, not the courage. Because for years, people had already decided who she was. And it wasn't someone strong. But this wasn't the first time danger found her. Years earlier, while pregnant, driving her children to school, she was chased. Not by danger you expect, but by someone chasing a photograph. She tried to escape, lost control, crashed into a wall. And even after the crash, the cameras kept clicking. That's the kind of life she lived. Always watched, rarely protected. To understand how she ended up there, you have to go back. Back to where everything began. She was born into unimaginable wealth. The kind of wealth that builds worlds. Her father wasn't just successful, he was powerful. A man who shaped television, controlled stories, and created empires. But the way he showed love wasn't through words. It was through things. Grand gestures. Extravagance. A home so massive it didn't feel real. Rooms you could get lost in. Luxury that most people couldn't even picture. When she was a child, he brought snow into a city that never sees it, just so she could feel what winter looked like. That's how he loved. But there's something important about growing up like that. When everything is given, nothing is explained. No one teaches you how money works. No one prepares you for what happens when it's gone. And one day it was. When her father passed away, the world assumed she would inherit everything. But she didn't. A fortune worth hundreds of millions went somewhere else. She received a fraction. A number that sounds big, until you realize the life she had been raised in. And just like that, everything shifted. Not just financially, emotionally. Because loss doesn't just come from death. Sometimes, it comes from what's left behind. And while she was still trying to process that, another chapter of her life began. One that would break her in ways no one saw coming. She met someone. It felt instant. Powerful. Like something you don't question, you just fall into. They left their past lives behind. Started over. Built a family. 5 children. A home that, from the outside, looked full of love. For a while, it felt like a second chance. Like maybe everything was finally falling into place. But some stories don't break all at once. They crack slowly, quietly, until one day, everything shatters. The betrayal didn't happen in private. It didn't stay hidden. It became public. Very public. And instead of protecting herself, she did something almost unimaginable. She let the world watch. Every tear, every argument, every moment of pain. Because maybe, somewhere inside, she thought honesty would heal it. Or maybe she didn't want to pretend anymore. But what the world saw was a woman being broken in real time. A partner admitting to addiction, to rage, to thoughts so dark they scared even him. And her? She stayed. Tried to fix it. Tried to hold everything together. For the kids. For the family. For the version of love she believed in. But there's only so much a person can carry. And one day it ended. Not gently. Not respectfully. But suddenly. Publicly. She found out the way no one should. And something inside her finally gave in. Not loudly. But deeply. The kind of pain that doesn't scream, it echoes. If this story is hitting you, if you've ever felt like life just keeps piling things on you, take a second and share this with someone who might need it. You never know who's quietly carrying more than they show. Because what came next might be the hardest part to understand. Money. Or rather, the loss of it. Because she had earned, worked, built projects, created income. But the problem wasn't earning. It was understanding. Expenses grew. Debts followed. Lawsuits stacked up. Taxes piled higher and higher. And slowly, everything started slipping away. Homes changed. Again, and again, and again. Stability became temporary. Comfort became uncertain. And then came something no one expected. She left a luxury home, not by choice, but because it wasn't safe. Something inside the house was making her children sick. Not just uncomfortable. Sick. Days of exhaustion. Skin reacting. Breathing becoming harder. And when nothing was fixed, she made a decision. She walked away. From the house. From the illusion. From everything that once looked perfect. And ended up somewhere no one imagined. A campground. A motorhome. 5 kids. A completely different life. Think about that shift. From unimaginable luxury to hanging clothes outside a small RV. But here's the part that matters. She didn't hide. She didn't disappear. She showed it, lived it, faced it. Because sometimes strength isn't about holding on to an image. It's about letting it go. But even then, life didn't stop testing her. Her children faced questions, judgment, whispers, the kind that hurt more than people realize. And even when she tried to move forward, to find something stable, she was met with something else. Mockery, dismissal, from people who didn't see a human being. Just a story, just a headline. And yet, she kept going, still showing up, still being a mother, still trying. At an age where many people would have given up, she stepped onto a stage again. Not because she had to, but because she wanted to prove something. Not to the world, to her children. That no matter how many times life knocks you down, you can still stand up and try again. And that's the part people missed. They saw the downfall, but they didn't see the endurance. They saw the mistakes, but not the resilience. Because surviving all of this, and still waking up every day, still fighting, still loving your kids, still trying to rebuild, that's not failure. That's strength. Real strength. The kind that doesn't look perfect. The kind that doesn't trend. But the kind that matters. So maybe the question isn't what went wrong in her life. Maybe the question is, how is she still standing? And what does that say about her?